Hey, yo, it's me, Pops Fan Marmalade, and you're watching the Comics-Related Madness Network. Huh? So come get some. CromCon. CromCon.
Hey, we want to shout out to our sponsors, Daytona Beach Comic Con. If you are a fan of comic books, if you're a fan of comic book conventions, and if you like meeting comic book creators and getting comics and comic-related stuff, then you need to make your plans to attend Daytona Beach Comic Con. This year's show is September 9th and 10th. Silverline will be there, so you should make your plans to be there too. We'll see you there. If you like comics and find yourself in the Orlando, Florida area, doesn't everyone come to Orlando at some point in time to see the House of Mouse? But when you're here, you need to make it a point to visit Coliseum of Comics, especially the one on East Colonial Drive. They carry Silverline comics, even a limited edition Coliseum of Comics version of our comics. So, when you go, be sure to ask for Silverline Comics and tell them we sent you. OCD stands for Orlando Collector Deviants. OCD, Steve and Trish, they're a family of geeks who promote geek things, particularly those around the Orlando, Florida area. They're big supporters of Silverline, and we think you should be supporters of theirs too. Go give them some love. If you are an independent comic book maker and you need to get your independent comics made, you need to look no further than Kablam Digital Printing. They print our books, and they do a bang-up job. They're not only trusted by Silverline, but many, many independent comic book makers. Head on over to kablam.com and see for yourself just how easy it is to have your comic printed by them. And tell them Silverline sent you.
Hi, this is Tim TK, host of That Silverline Show on Tuesday. Join us at 11 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Pacific every Tuesday night as we discuss pop culture and the joys of making comics.
Hi, I'm Barb Kelber, co-host of Silverline's Wednesday Wham. Join us each Wednesday night as we discuss comics, literature, movies, and anything else that may catch our attention.
I'm Roland Mann, and I host Silverline's Silver Sunday. Join me every Sunday at 8 p.m. Eastern as we make mine Silverline.
Hello, and welcome to Wednesday Wham, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us, if anyone has. And I got my beautiful co-hosts here today. To that side over there, we got the Empress of Inks, Barb Kalberg. Say hello, Barb.
Hello.
What do you do?
See more than that?
Oh, yes. Tell us what you do and what you've done and where you've been and what's going on.
I have done and been everywhere.
I've been everywhere, man.
Yep, that's right. I've been in the comics industry for over 35 years. I've worked for everybody under the sun. Now I work for myself, which I truly love, working with Silverline because it's more of a family than it is a business. And I'm the creator of Divinity. I'm inking something very, very cool with Rob right now. And I'm also the CFO of Silverline Comics. So I pinch the pennies. That's right.
Yeah. So that's her book right there.
I have a very much of a right brain, left brain thing going in my life. I've always been that way. So one side of my brain, I can be an accountant and crunch the numbers. And the other side of my brain is very creative. So, yeah, a strange breed.
Yeah. So you used to sling ink, and now you do it in the digital domain.
I do. That had to come with age, unfortunately.
And down below me, we have the venerable penciler, inker, illustrator, Rob Davis.
Book designer.
Publisher.
Partner in a publishing firm. Yeah, well, a very small publishing firm, Airship 27. And my partner in crime actually has started showing up on the Tuesday night Silverline, because he also does a little work for Silverline. His book Beyond the Stars is in the Silverline lineup. But we're talking about me tonight, I guess, for this next
It's all
minute or two. Me.
And you've been working on the secret project with Barb. How far along are we in that? And when is it going to be revealed?
Page 17.
I'm
page 17.
21.
About 3/4 of the way through 16 as of today.
Yeah,
Rob, you got to speed up a little bit there.
Yeah. 17 is she had another project she had to work on for a while.
Yes. But of course,
they gave me a
the
breather.
super secret Japanese project.
Yeah, but she's starting to catch up, so I have to step up my game too.
That's done and over with now. So.
My career is very similar to Barb's. I've been in the industry, probably about 35 to 38 years, somewhere in there. I'd have to stop and do the math, and no, math is not so good. But yeah. And working for quite a few of the different publishers, many of the same ones that she has. There's innovation. There's talking about some of the small guys.
Yeah.
Innovation. I did some work for Caliber, but I also work for Marvel and DC and Malibu. Mostly on the Star Trek books for DC and Malibu. But
and I know I've said this several times, but now comics still owes me money.
I'm one of the lucky few that got in early enough with my request that not request. It was a threat. I threatened to sue, and in small claims court, because mine was small enough I could take it to small claims court. I know lots of people with too big for small claims court, and couldn't get them. So yeah, Now Comics was probably the first comic book company I worked for. And it didn't completely sour me on the industry, but it came really close.
But I think every artist who's been around for a few years has got one of those stories.
Yeah. You're welcome to the creative world, because it's cruel. It can be really cruel at times.
The real heartbreakers are you get a project completed and then they kill it before it sees publication.
Right.
I've had a couple of those. I've had a couple of those happen, or on the brink of. I was on the brink of being hired at DC to do their Babylon 5 comic book, and DC's editorial and this creator of Babylon 5, Michael Straczynski, I think is how it's pronounced. Pulled the plug on the book. I mean, I was all but signed, and they pulled the plug on it. So
Yikes!
It happens. I had the rug yanked out from under me a lot.
Similar, or only even more heartbreaking for me was that I did the movie adaptation of The Lawnmower Man over Stewart and Monin. Oh, his pencils were gorgeous. Oh, it was a 60-page graphic novel, completely finished, colored, ready to go to press.
And it got
and Stephen King's lawyers killed it because he hated the movie adaptation. Yep. So somewhere out there, there's pages with Stewart's pencils and my inks are. Oh God, they were so gorgeous.
Yeah, his work is beautiful. His work is beautiful, and your inks. I can imagine your very precise inks would have really made his stuff pop.
Yeah,
that hurt. At least I got paid.
Yeah. You got essentially got what I call a kill fee.
Yeah.
That when the project gets killed, they contracted you to do it, and you finish it.
Well, they
should pay you something.
I finished my part, and it had gone on to the colorist, and the colorist was done, and then all of a sudden,
So
that's what happens sometimes. Yep.
So Rob, on a positive note, how's your Boston Bombers doing?
I'm on issue 3 now.
Issue 3?
Issue 3, yeah. I'm on issue 3, and I will probably be showing a page or two of that tonight. Just because I have all the parts. So we're talking about how we get from here to the page, and I've got some examples of that were handy right here next to the drawing board to show. So I will show some of that tonight. Yeah,
it's awesome. Yep. All right. Well, and I'm Martin Mertonen, and I am the colorist on this wonderful book, Wolf Hunter. We finally finished issue 2. That took a dog's age to do, but issue 2 is on its way.
Yay.
I have not heard any feedback on the colors, whether or not my boss is happy with it or not. But so I colored this. This is the retro cover for Wolf Hunter. If you like that kind of thing, this is a really, really awesome cover. I absolutely love it. It was great. It was a fun cover
DC
to color.
War book look.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. So, and then here at Silverline, we do books like Cat and Mouse, which is an awesome book. We do Cray if you're into adventures. And then, of course, we have our wonderful Ultimate Dad comic, Kalis, which is such a good book.
Divinity.
And then Divinity.
What else we got? Award-winning Divinity.
Beyond the Stars.
Blow up my own head there.
And then Teen Beetle, which just had its Kickstarter. And then, of course, Trumps. Hey, if there's any like movie companies that want an awesome movie idea,
that would be a good one.
Would be a great movie. So that would be a very cool movie to make. It's already written for you. All you have to do is buy the comic book and use that as the script. But talk to our head honcho first, like don't just go make it.
There's my book with R.A. Jones, Twilight Grim.
Yes.
So, yeah.
So, yes. So, folks, yes. And White Devil. We have so many different books, different genres.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah. The awesome allegory. So, yep. So, perfect for kids. And even if you're an adult, Bear is awesome. Switchblade. If you're into the cutthroat, Switchblade's your book. And Champion and Miss Fury. Yeah. So yes, we've got your heroes, we've got your action, we've got everything under the sun. And I'm gonna segue into our next little segment here with Sniper and Rook. Sniper and Rook is a comic about 2 spies for the government of the United States. And I happen to do a wonderful little pinup for. Now I don't know if it was wonderful. It's a pinup for the wonderful
nice
John Metic #3, and this ends up being Rook, and she ends up hanging up here upside down, and she's shooting at one of her opponents. I did some background research and found out that they have this enemy duo from back in the day, and this is the girl compatriot from that side. So that is what we got. All right, so let's take a look at this. So how did I get to this? How did we get here? So this is the final output. So we're going to zoom in here. So we got some pipes. She's upside down on the pipes. She's got her staff. We get a gun flying in the sky here. And we got this character down here getting shot at, dodging bullets, some ponytail flying action. And I was playing a lot with the black and white and the different options there. But I also made a pop version, which did this. So this ended up creating a dynamic element to it, which even though you see the flaws in the background here, I thought just added to the image, so I just left it in. So you end up with this kind of pop art version as well. So
that's a blacklight poster. Yeah, that's a blacklight poster, man.
Yeah,
man.
Yeah, man. He probably doesn't know what we're talking about.
Yeah. So this is what I came up with for Mr. Medic. But how did we get
even that white kind of? It was interesting with no color.
Yeah,
that's got an interesting look to it.
Yeah, that does actually. It really does. It has a little bit of a Frank Miller-ish thing going on there.
Yeah,
maybe.
Really. Well,
did he ask you to do a cover for him?
No, I just did it on my own volition because
that's how you did my Divinity cover, and I'm like, I want to use that.
Exactly. So
you may be able to sell this one too. I like that.
Yeah.
I like that a lot.
Yeah, that actually has a lot. It does have a
That's
nice kick to it.
very dynamic. Very.
I should probably send that to him too and see if he can make some prints of that.
Yeah.
So I sent him this in the pink one so that he can make it whatever, like if he wants to make prints or posters or whatever he wants, he can do with that. But how did we get there? Well, let's jump over. We started with something. Well, okay, yeah, let's try and come up with an idea, and it was like, yeah, okay, that's kind of. And then I was doing some. All right, let's do some research and figure out what these characters kind of look like. And then there's also this page here where I was okay. He told me he liked these actors. And so I was like, okay, so I went and got these actors to try and figure out what. Okay, so this is who he had for Rook. This is who he had for, or Rook is the girl. And this was the sniper guy that he liked. So I was like, okay, so let's try and figure this out. Try and figure out the facial proportions. How are we going to make this work? Kind of got a little bit, but then it's like, yeah, okay. Well, so I kind of figured out how those characters work. But now, how did we build up this image? Well, we started sketching stuff, and we started with a perspective, and then we moved the perspective, and then we came up with this thing. Let's see, what's that? Oh, then we, of course, pull in some more reference, so we got the face idea. Okay, yeah, just nothing really dynamic happening yet. Okay, now we got something started. So this is actually, like, I think this is, like, based on ScarJo's face here. And then we brought in this guy, but I wasn't feeling this guy at all. He wasn't doing anything for me, and so I tried a couple of, let's get some rough sketches in there and see what. Okay, and we'll get to that in a second. Then I came up with this. I don't know where this popped into my head or how this popped into my head, but I came up with this rough sketch. I was like, okay, well, what if we got something like that? All right. And then now we got this person here dodging bullets down at the bottom. Okay. So what I'm doing is I'm blocking out the big shapes and figuring out, like, okay, what's going to happen where? How do we? Okay, what if we change the angle of this person dodging the bullets? How does this work? And then we created like this grid to figure out where stuff is supposed to go. And then we built up a little bit more on that. So there's another grid happening there. So I think this blue one was my initial grid. And then I was like, well, okay, that's not quite working. It's going a little bit too much into. So then I came up with this red one. What's that? Okay, that's just stripes. And is this? Oh, there we go. This was okay. So this was my initial. This was my initial drawing here. That was my initial drawing. So I was like, okay, so this is where I'm at. This is what I got going on. And then I happened to just stumble upon this actual person doing the pose I wanted, shockingly. And I was like, oh, well, all right. Well, now I don't have to do any work. I can just trace that. So then we ended up, so we ended up here, and then we go here. Where do we go? Where's that drawing? Nope. I gotta find my drawing again. There we not that one. It's way down here, I think. So yeah, there we go. So all right, so now we got the proportions in place, and we just start rocking and rolling from this point. And after that, it was just a matter of pushing and pulling until we ended up with that. So then we just pushed and pulled and pushed and pulled and pushed and pulled until we got to what we wanted, and this is what we ended up with. Now, thinking about this thing, I can't say for sure that, like, in my head, I had an actual like any real idea of what any of this was supposed to be. It just kind of ended up cobbling itself together and ended up as this. So I'm not 100% sure, other than the fact that I just kept pushing and pulling on things until this kind of finally made itself. That I can't see that, like, this was in my head, right? So I'm very intrigued how I got here. I don't really know. So some of it was like, okay, well, I ended up with that initial pose, and then I found a person who was like literally doing the pose that I was hoping for. So I was like, okay, so I'm able to steal that. And then this gun here, I ended up just going and finding a gun, and then I traced that. I mean, obviously I made some like modifications just to like this is probably a bigger silencer on there than it should be, then like exaggerate some things just to make things, because if you try and do it in reality doesn't reflect well in a drawing.
Yeah, and so you've done something really important here that I want to point out to any aspiring artists, is that you found your point of light, and the light comes from that. You always think what your light source is,
right,
when you're drawing something. Don't for the whole picture, because you can go, okay, the light looks really good on this figure from this direction. Then you do another piece and you do light from a different direction. You got to set where your light's coming from first thing, and then make everything work off of that. And that's done very well here.
Yeah. So then it just boils down to like composition. So like this gun here, I moved this around and sized it and resized it and did all sorts of different things, pushing and tweaking it until it was in the right spot, so that it was like, okay, so it's not being obstructed, and you can tell what it is, and it's on the right angle. Like I had it at a sharper angle, I had a different angle, but this is finally the one that ended up being the right angle. And to move these pipes around until they finally settled where they were. This stuff.
Fortunately, when you're using digital, you can change you can change the size,
you can push and shove,
you can change the angle, you can push things around, you can stretch it. It's very. The one problem with it is sometimes you get caught up in it, and it just starts churning where you really aren't getting anywhere. You're doing all these changes and nothing's seeming to work. So it's best to, if you get to that point, step away from it for a little bit. But that's very easy to go there.
So other than the fact that I had all I had to start my whole process was, I want to do a image for Sniper and Rook, because Sniper and Rook caught my attention for some reason, and I just thought, okay, let's make an image for this. I had no other thought in my head as to how to get here, and I ended up here. I don't know if I can quantify that. So but if people out there out in internet land have some suggestions how they get their ideas out, please let us know. So Rob, if you are given something to look at or think about, how do you process the information to start with what you got? So like, let's do like a panel of let's say Boston Bombers.
When I'm going to get a script from the writer. Now, I'm one of those people that I see a movie in my head when I'm reading. If I'm reading a book, if I'm reading a script, I actually see a movie in my head, and then it's a matter of deciding where to move the camera to make the best shot for that particular panel or that page or whatever. So it's a matter of a lot of it goes on in my head. You did a lot of yours inside the computer there, whereas a lot of mine is done inside my head. So what happens is I start out, when I get the script, I start out with something
the thumbnails,
for my thumbnails. So at the top I put, the name of the book and, or whatever. This has got what 3, 6, 9, 12. So half a book is in there. Most books I do are about 24 pages. And so then I just start with each one of them, page 1. Well, what's happening on page 1? Well, then that turns into that.
Right.
And sometimes it's got, as you can see, there's little notes with what's going on. But that's
cool.
That's to give it, because it's like only, what is that, 2.5 inches by whatever wide, and it's fairly approximate of the size of a comic book page. I'm going to change things around anyway, but this gives me the blocking, and if I want to do dramatic perspective, I can do that. But let's see which page this is. That's Boston Bombers, and this is page. I have page. Let me see here. Which one is it? I may have the wrong one. Because, like I say, each book is divided into 2 of them.
So
yeah.
So
when come up with it, then.
Go ahead, okay. Barb.
He says that when he envisions his artwork, he sees it like a movie, and that's the way that I do it too. I see it cinematograph as from a cinematographer's point of view.
Right.
I'll say that 3 times.
Okay. Right. Okay. So now the words, you read the words, and the words then conjure up a picture in your head. How in your mind, how clear is that picture to you? Like, is it like vivid, or is it just kind of more nebulous, or is it kind of like
sometimes it depends on the writer, number one, but number two, it depends on the scene. Sometimes I just see the people. Sometimes all I see is the people and what they're doing. But then as I start doing the actual thumbnails, then I have to start thinking about, okay, what are the props that are around them? What makes this? So you read again what the text says to find out, and the best thing to do is read the whole book through once. Then come back and do it again, because you need to have. There might be some foreshadowing you want to do. Where something that happens later in the book, you may want to visually foreshadow it somehow. It's a really fun storytelling trick to do, is to make to show something early in the book that's going to happen later. As I call it, Chekhov's gun. If something happens later, you need to show it first. You need to show it earlier. Right. So so you have to think about what all that's doing, and then to move the camera around the scene to get the drama out of the scene that you want to get out of it. If you want it just very static, then you just do like this. You may want to get going for a tight shot, or pull way back, or just and or do a shot up to give it more drama, or shoot down to give it more drama.
It's also easier the better you know the characters.
Yes. Yeah. Absolutely.
So have you ever had the where you kind of, you've pictured what you actually want the image to look like, But then as you do research for the image then changes because it no longer fits. Yeah, okay.
Oh, absolutely. And I was just this page that I've got on the drawing board here is not too. It shows some of that. We're looking at this panel right here, or this page right here, and this is how I envisioned it to start with. But I knew I'd need to have reference for that room.
Right.
So I dug around on the internet and I found some pictures that I composited it together from several different things using Photoshop to move things around. And that's what came out of that. So it looks different, but yet it's still got the same feel, which is what I was looking at. So, but that's, it starts out, it's fairly close. You got that, and then you've got that.
Right.
So, but the thing about it is that I've always had that movie running in my head when I read since I was a little kid. So the trick is learning the skills to turn what's in here into what shows up on the page, because you're looking at something that's probably in my head it's 3D, it's three-dimensional, but you have to turn it into something that looks 3D on a two-dimensional, on a flat surface. So you've got to learn the skills. You have to learn how to use perspective, and you learn anatomy. You just learn how to draw things in real life to make the scene come alive. So people can. So it's a matter of turning, again, what's inside your head, using the skills that you've acquired to make it come alive on the page. And that's almost magical. But what it is you've got the initial vision in your head, and then you learn how to get the skills to turn it into reality. And that's the hard part, is learning those skills. That's a lot of practice.
So now this is actually, I'm going to twist this a little bit because inking is a different dynamic completely.
Yeah.
But as you're inking, this might be mostly for Barb, but you do inking too, Rob. So
I do.
Maybe
I ink most of my own stuff. Barb is doing some inking on some of my work these days. Mostly I ink my own.
Do you perceive how you actually want the ink to look, or does it just come out the way it comes out?
No. It's very strange the way that I ink anyway, is that when I'm inking, I'm actually feeling the lines that are going down. Yeah. So like if I'm doing clouds, the line is wispy and thin, and if I'm doing rocks, I want it to feel gritty.
Right. So do you then imagine the feeling that you want to exude out of your pen? That's kind of what you do. So you kind of go, okay,
absolutely.
I want it to have grit. So you like feel I want to give myself grit. And you're like,
and I have to switch instruments. I have to switch instruments if I'm going to do certain things. All right. So if I'm inking in brush, if I go to do dirt and rocks, I have to switch to acrylic quill, because it's got a tougher,
it's more sketchy. Yeah.
It's got a grittier texture to it.
Right.
Especially if you've got a paper that's got a nice nap on it. It comes out much rougher than the smooth brush line.
Because there's some what they call tooth.
Tooth. That's what I'm.
There's a roughness. There's a roughness to it. It's called tooth. It depends on whether the paper is either heat pressed or
cold pressed.
Cool pressed. Depends on what kind of surface it has. Personally, I prefer what they call vellum surface, which has a little more tooth to it. Letterists hate it.
And I used
hand
to
lettering. They hate that. They want it. They want it smooth as glass. So
I would take an old crow quill that wasn't as sharp anymore, and I would skip it forward on the page so it would spit.
Mm-hmm.
So
some of the most amazing feelings I've ever had is when all of a sudden, I don't know how to describe this, you feel that your pen and the lines that you're inking are one, and they everything you're like, whoa, everything is just like in sync, and it just bam, 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 bam.
I call that being in the zone.
Yeah. So, and if anyone ever interrupts you, good night.
Yeah. If I get in the zone,
I've been jolted out of the zone, and I'm like, and then they're like trying to get back into it. It's like, oh,
right. If I'm in the zone, every line going down is just perfect, and everything's flowing,
and you're not making any mistakes. Everything is right on. It's just like, it's an amazing
zen. It's a very zen space.
It's very interesting.
You become one with the paper.
Right. So now going back to drawing, Rob, do you internalize feelings and emotions into the drawing that you're doing? Like, okay, this is supposed to be an angry image, or this is supposed to be a happy image.
My wife has caught me
making faces
while I'm drawing.
Yeah, I catch myself doing it all the time.
She'll come in and catch me doing that, and she'll laugh at me, and I'm going, "You spoiled it."
Yeah. Hey, Geek Man. So we're talking about how do we get ideas out of our heads onto the page. If you have any suggestions, by all means, give us some thoughts. I do that too. I will make the grimaces and the happy faces and the if it's the action scene that I want to do, I try to make myself feel like I'm epic. So I'm trying to figure out how to it's just
right.
Unfortunately, I also do that when I read. So if I'm on a bus or something like that, people are watching me go.
Yeah. So you're able to visualize your scene in your head pretty much. You say sometimes it's just the people, and then you figure out how to cobble around the scene around the people and how you. And I was drawing before the show started, and I was thinking about what am I doing? How am I doing this? What am I putting on the paper? How is it that I'm doing what I'm doing, and what's appearing on the paper, and why is it that's appearing on the paper? And I was trying to process that information, and I was like, okay, what is it that I am doing? And I realized that I think for me, I create verbal prompts in my head that give me the suggestion of what I'm looking for or what I want, but I am not. I kind of see an idea, but it's very vague.
So
very vague.
You're AI.
And then
prompts and creating it.
So and then I have to get something on the page. I have to get something on the page to get me started. Mm-hmm. Once I got the thing like a line on the page, then I know where to go from there. And then I can't say that I'm seeing. I can't say that I'm seeing what it is, but I know compositionally what I want. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So I'm composing. So if I want my face to be here, and then my hand is going to be this hand here. I can compose this, right? But I don't see that, right? I realize this is what I kind of want, and then I push and shove until I get to this, right? So, yeah.
I have a horrible quandary being the right brain, left brain person that I am, is that my brain is kind of like a split screen.
Mm-hmm.
So one of half is seeing the scene I want, and the other half is writing it at the same time. It's very, very difficult.
Yeah.
But I can't help doing it. I'm doing the prose as extravagant prose, describing exactly what I'm seeing on the other side. Big explosions and stuff like that, but it's very cinematic.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So Geekman Masters of the Thunder Nerd says, I don't know about drawing, but as a writer, I try to get into a similar headspace as the character I'm writing for, what drives the character, etc., as I flesh it out in the scene. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
when you get in that Zen space, it just flows onto the page, right? Or the typewriter or whatever it is.
The characters start speaking to you.
Yes, and I just finished an audio book by Edward Robinson, the Cycle of Glands series. I just finished the last one, and he talked about that. He says, I'm not the normal type of writer. I don't know where the book's going to end up when I start writing it. I write it as it goes, but he says the characters a lot of times take over and they hijack the story and off they go. And, I just follow along.
Yeah. I see that happen all the time. Yeah.
Yep. So I was thinking we could try a little exercise. I don't know how this is going to go, but where we give ourselves a prompt here and see how do we come up with this idea that we're going to try. And let's see. I just want to bring up another comic thing that I did. Oh, so this is I don't know if you recognize this character here in the blue. Barb. Can you tell who that is?
In the blue?
Yeah, the blue character.
That looks like Widowmaker.
Yeah, Widowmaker
and Mr. E.
That's right.
Ooh.
Yeah. So I was going to do a little short story on Widowmaker and Mr. E. They were going to fight each other. So that was. So I was pushing and pulling and doing a whole bunch of stuff. You're doing the stereotypical woman looking over her shoulder while her butt shows. Wow. Okay. Well, it wasn't intended to be stereotypical. It was just intended to be. It was intended to be. She was put in a vulnerable position, so that was kind of where I was going with that.
I'm just yanking your chain.
Yeah. So.
I mean, it is, but yeah, but
so
it works. It works.
There's a reason it's used so much. It's because it's impactful.
Yeah.
Right. So okay, I think I had a more complete version of this, and I've lost it. But this was going to be a 6-panel grid, and a lot of this was going to be just like hang on, let me just pull up. Let's just make a new layer. Maybe I do have the underline. No, I don't have the underdrawing. Because okay, all right.
Yeah, see, he's doing all sorts of things here that this all happens in my head, so it's all work on paper.
Well, pre-computer, this is what happened. See,
right?
Yeah.
So real pencil. Okay, so this is. Okay.
Yeah, I wish I'd had one of those, but I don't.
Oh,
the idea here was that she's going to be here, and he's going to be behind her here, and this. I actually had this more penciled out there, so he, because of her fear of men. I think she's scared of men. She tries to destroy them, but
she hates men.
Yeah. So the scenario here is this man has bettered her. He's bested her, right? And so he was going to be behind her, and he then offers her. So you suggested that there was some sort of a table or something.
The table of 5.
The table of 5. Right. Yes. Okay. So
very,
he was going to offer her a seat at the table. In this, this is all unsanctioned. So this was just a
scenario you came up.
Just the scenario I came up with, right? So he offers her this offer, and then here he actually like touches or he reaches up. He's going to reach up to her face here in this panel, which is like an absolute no, right?
Right.
And he puts his hand, but he doesn't touch her. He won't touch her because he's just telling her, I can if I want to, but I'm not going to. And then he tells her that she can come to the table tomorrow and bring your widows if you wish. And then the final panel on the next page was going to be her screaming at the top of her lungs because she got bested by a man. But anyways, how did that get? I don't know how that got to the page. Like I can't tell you other than like, okay, I got the idea and I have to start putting these. I just have to start drawing, and then I push and pull until I get to where I need to go. But yeah, that was my thought on that. But let's start with a blank page. Give us a comic prompt. Let's see what we can do. Anybody?
How about somebody smacking somebody across the face so they're like flying?
Okay. All right. Cool. So
it's got to be dynamic.
All right. So you've given us this prompt, and what do you see in your head here, Rob? Like, what would you see in your head?
And what angle? What angle?
Well, is it are we using the whole page, or are we just using a panel? Is this just
backhanding? They're backhanding.
Yeah, let's do a whole page here because I mean, may as well. I'm not really seeing something, but I have a notion of something. So you've given me words to work with. Backhand slap, okay. So all right.
The way I'm seeing it is the guy that's getting slapped is head to the crowd, and the guy that's slapping is facing. Furious look on his face, like enraged. Enraged look on his face.
So the thing that I've got right in my head right now is, okay, I want emotion, right? So I'm like, okay, so here's going to be my vanishing point, and this is where, like, okay, I'm going to start something like this, just to get the idea down. All right. I kind of know how people work and function, so I'm just going to start getting the big shapes in place. And this is what I'm going with. Like, okay, so this person's going to have like, okay, he's probably going to have some sort of like pain in the face.
Oh yeah.
And then this arm might need to shoot out this way.
Oh yeah, very Kirby-esque. Yes.
Yeah, here. So this, and then this arm's going to be like over here. Okay, let's do that. He's, and then we need to get okay, now this arm is going to be in the way. So I know, so here's the slap. So I guess that's going to be an arm across like this to this guy here. And so I don't have in my head, I don't have a picture. Like, I'm just kind of making this up as I go. Now, Rob, would you actually have a picture in your head as to what you're...
Yes, and I'm doing it now.
He's sketching it out.
So you would, yeah, okay. So, all right. So, like, this would be my rough cut. This is my rough cut. This is where I would, okay. So, but I'm
He needs an angry face.
Yeah. Oh, right. Okay. So let's get an angry face in here. So, yeah. So I'm predicating all of my stuff based on probably emotion and emotion and shape, like just the big broad shapes. That's kind of what's going through my head. And then I don't know. That's and I guess part of it comes down. So yeah, all right, there you go. Yeah, right. So you went from a different angle.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
That just proves that everybody sees their own version of the prompt.
Mm-hmm.
Right, exactly.
That's a really good example.
That's why I did it that way. I turned my back, not even seeing what he was doing,
Mm-hmm.
and did my own because
Yep.
I didn't want to be influenced by what he was doing. But
Right.
my was the getting that the real heavy foreshortening of that arm coming back toward the viewer after having swung past
Right.
and hit the person. that draws you into the picture as well.
Right.
So that's the kind of things that I'm also thinking about while I'm doing this. How can I pull the reader into it? How can I pull the viewer into what's happening there? And doing some kind of foreshortening, some perspective, or something that will draw them in. So the thing that I fixated on was that arm coming back after having hit the person.
Right. Right. So now that I look at this, I would go, okay, this is pretty dynamic. But now, if I was to start doing my composition, I'd be like,
where's the rest of the guy's body on the bottom?
Yeah.
How is it going to fit into the picture?
Yeah, but I would actually take this in a completely different direction now that I've seen this. I would actually now go, oh, okay, what if I think it might be more dynamic if we end up, bringing this guy's head down here, and this guy's punch or slap is gonna come across the page here, and then this guy's now flying into this corner. Because he's flying into this corner, we're now going to lead off this page to make you want to turn the page, and then you get this guy's legs going.
It also goes in the same direction as the guy's swing, so that flows better.
Yeah. And then this guy's like, okay, so now we're going to go out here, and he's got his fist up here, and then I would probably pull this back now. Maybe make this guy's leg completely okay. So let's. So of course there's a whole bunch of stuff. Now once I get to a certain point here, I would probably now have to go get reference to then completely tighten this up to say, okay, well, I've got my idea down, but now where are they? Where am I going to put them? What's my
I don't know if you've ever watched Frank Cho sketch on his videos. He does a lot of that too. He'll start with something and then he'll erase and he'll adjust something a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And then he'll keep going and he'll go back and erase something else, like a whole leg or something like that. Oh,
Yep.
nope, he moves it. And it's just fascinating to watch him wiggle around. And this is pen or pencil and paper, He keeps erasing it and then it comes up with something completely different from where he started.
Right. So there. Oh, now we're getting some serious exaggeration here.
Yeah.
Going very Kirby.
Yeah. So push, pull. All right. Now, compositionally, this is kind of a little bit more stronger and
yeah, definitely.
And we got some more dynamics going on and stuff like that. But yeah, so again, it's basically for me, I'm understanding masses. I think in masses. So I always think in the big shape. And then I refine it from there. Now I've realized I think that I'm very much into the I'm not big on the detail. Because I don't see detail, but I know people love detail, so it's I appreciate detail. I mean,
sometimes you want it and sometimes you don't.
Yeah.
It's sometimes you want big black shapes to make things pop. You don't need all that little detail to just if you've got something that's got to have a punch to it, like a punch. You don't want a lot of extraneous stuff in the background. You want the reader to feel it. And if there's all this other little doodly stuff going on, that's going to detract from that. You don't want that. So if anything, you do what you do all the speed lines or the power lines coming off of the scene, which gives it that power. So,
David is going back to the old school thing that I've got here.
Oh yes, yep.
Yeah, this is like pre-computer, so you would put it in a, say, very dynamic pose coming at you. Look at that. Okay,
Yeah.
here we're gonna go do this here. So
Yeah.
here he's coming at you like that,
Yep.
and that
and you can hold it while you're, and move it around. Yeah. Move the angle a little bit.
Yep. This is old school. I've got
Yep.
2 of these, a male and a female.
So I'm just gonna show off some of our Silverline books so you can kind of see the difference of what's going on and how different people had their ideas get onto the page. So here we got let's see here. There we go. So this is Kalis. I'm not sure how clear that is.
I like the tongue.
So maybe it's clearer there. But this is a very detailed comic, right? There's lots of detail in this. And then if you got something like this, which is Teen Beetle, there's less detail, but all the forms are there. Everything, I mean, it's detailed enough. All the information that you need, though, is there in order to get what you need to do.
Gets the message across.
Yeah. And then if you got something like Trumps, where we had different artists all do different things, you have a kind of like an in-between. There's some detail and not as much detail, depending on where you're looking. So, yeah. It's interesting. So, yeah. Basically, for me, I think it comes down to just how do I compose what I want to compose in order to make something look cool.
The basic tenet is that if you are getting the story across in any way, shape, or form, that the reader can understand the story,
right,
and you have accomplished your task.
Yes.
Yeah.
So yes. So
despite how simple or complex the pencils are.
Yep. So it's a matter of So it's a matter of, is the storytelling clear? So yeah. So I think maybe that might be the key. So you may or may not know what you're doing. You may or may not have the vision in your head, but can you? Oh, let me bring you guys back here. Okay, can you tell the story clearly? And if you're telling the story clearly and it is doing what it needs to do, then you've done your job. So yeah, interesting.
It's the practicing of what you're doing, learning the skills, the perspective, the anatomy, learning how to draw everyday things, and then figuring out how to make them dramatic and how to make your pages flow. It's just practice and practice and practice and practice until it just becomes second nature, which I don't really give it much thought when I'm doing it. I just see the movie. It's a process, and it's a process that I use all the time, and I don't even think about it anymore. I just sit down at the drawing board and start doing it.
Right.
So, but I've had to analyze what for this. I've had to stop and go, well, how does it work?
Yeah.
And it comes down to it. It really comes down to practicing those skills, because if you've already got it up here, the trick is getting it on the page. So you have to learn the techniques in order to get it onto the page. I had an editor one time reviewing my portfolio telling me, well, you can't get by on tricks. Well, I'm sorry. Comic books are a trick. It's all tricking your eye. It's all tricking your eye into seeing something three-dimensional and seeing motion where there is none. It's all tricks. It's all, but they're techniques. She was calling them tricks. I call them techniques. So but
well, if the techniques or the tricks work and they tell the story, then you've done your job. So so like a lot of it compositionally, like things that are closer to you are bigger, right? So okay, if I put my person up here, and that much of the panel, well, then that means I have a lot less to draw over there.
Depending on how much detail is on that thing that's in the foreground. Yeah.
So make a big shape at the front of your picture, and then you have less to draw.
That's why I like noir. Lots of blacks.
Well, exactly, yeah. So
when in doubt, black it out.
That's
right.
Used to say.
Yeah. I think one thing that just popped into my head here is sometimes having more information up front is better, because then you can have all that information available to you to grab from, but then you can then suss it out and clean it out, and then drop the detail or drop the elements you don't need, but you can keep what you do need. But if you don't have the information up front, then you're struggling and you're grasping to try and figure out what it is that, like,
when I'm drawing a page and I've got the thumbnails, I've sketched out where each panel goes, then I'll gesture in the characters and some of the major background pieces, and it's sketched. It's a gesture. Everything, you make everything move, gestures, and then I go in and I start trying to tighten it up a little bit. And before I'm done, there's a bunch of scribbly stuff in that panel. So I take my kneaded eraser and erase it down until the heavier ones show up, and that's the strongest pieces in the drawing, and that's what I tighten up and make the final drawing. When I'm inking myself, it's at that point that I start inking. Is when I've erased it down to get rid of all the extraneous lines, and it comes down to the strongest lines that I put down.
Yeah.
Somewhere I think I heard Steve Rude does that with his work. He does it, and then scrapes it with the kneaded eraser or something else to take most of the lighter lines out, and it leaves you with the strongest ones left, and you can tighten those up. So, but it's tricks or techniques, stuff that you learn. And like Barb was saying earlier about taking Pro Quill and scratching it across the page to get the ink to squirt out of it, that's an accident that turns into a technique. You may have done that by accident sometime and went,
skipping it across the page.
That's kind of cool what that just did. I'm going to remember that.
It'd make a
use
spatter
that later
pattern.
where it might really work nicely. So a lot of techniques turn out as accidents that you have to try and make into to something that works for you, a technique.
Yeah.
But
I've done that many times.
Yeah. So one thing I find fascinating for myself, and I'm still trying to process this, is no matter how much I try, like I've aped other people's styles. I've tried other different things, but or even doing my realism and whatnot with varying degrees of success. But the thing that happens is I always end up going back to something that or an approach or a visual approach that always comes out, and that's the way it is. And it drives me nuts because it's not necessarily what I want.
Yeah,
but it is what
necessarily
appears.
What's in there, but but it is what works on the page.
Right.
Yeah,
that's
a hard thing to accept.
And I guess for all intents and purposes, that's my style. That's a fascinating thought. Is how does the information that is being put into my head come out like that? And I don't know if I have any real answers. But a lot of it boils down to
just how it works. It's just how it works.
So if you're an illustrator or an artist, the two rules that I try to follow: look at the thing. The longer you look at it, the better you can draw it. And what's the second rule? Look. And draw what you see, not what you know. So those are the two. So
yeah. It comes down to shapes.
It
comes down to shapes.
Yeah. So if you want the thing to look authentic, then go find the reference.
There's no shame in using reference.
By golly, it's so much easier than it used to be back in the old days when we had to go to the library or take pictures. Library.
Yeah.
No, you just walk over to your computer, type in what you want, and you get thousands of them, and you can pick.
Yep.
So
I used to have magazines cut out, and I would put them in specific folders, all named, animals. Within the animal folders, I had them broken down like horses, dogs, blah blah blah.
Oh yeah. Well, here
I've
got one of my old from my what I call the morgue file.
Cars.
Cars.
Human anatomy. And
we talked about reference in one of our previous episodes, so that's some of the. But
so much easier now.
I have all this clipped stuff of horses, clipped out of magazines, just a whole.
Usually Marlboro commercials.
Yeah, because they had a lot of horses in them. Yeah, definitely. But but that's But you can Google that stuff now.
Yep.
Yeah.
So it's
much
much
easier.
easier today.
Pinterest is actually, I think Pinterest for reference material is better than Google because Pinterest is more
I have
focused.
A lot of pins. I have a lot of pins.
So we've hit the top of the hour. I wasn't sure if we were going to be able to fill up this conversation,
but Barb showed up.
hopefully
we were afraid it was just going to be me and Martin here.
Yeah.
But
my kids and grandkids are on a Disney cruise to the Disney Island. Yeah, so we're on dog and cat duty all week. So and they have to be let out at certain times. So we were kind of pushing the limits today. I was hoping I'd get back in time.
Yeah, and Cassisi wanted to come, but he had to stay at work. So but
So now
happens.
Is next week Thanksgiving week for you guys, or is it the week after?
Week after. Next week is I'm Host to Sing, and it is about why are independent comic book companies so important.
Oh, speaking of which, I was going to bring this up at the top of the hour. The Atlas Comics has come back.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So apparently, Atlas Comics and Walmart have decided to join forces together, and they are going to be making a comic books, and I guess Walmart is going to be distributing the toys.
Wow.
So very interesting.
Yeah.
Little synergy going on there. Okay.
So that's now not many people know who Atlas Comics is. I barely knew of. I've heard of. I do remember as a kid hearing about them, and on the playground, some kids thought Atlas was better than, but like the comics that existed were few and far between. So,
I think their problems were distribution, and that was the biggest
like
problems
that
back in the day. But Atlas, if I recall the history right, and it's off the top of my head here, Atlas was actually started by the former publisher of Marvel.
Yep.
Martin Goodman.
Yep.
And I think one of the iterations of Marvel at one time was called Atlas.
That's correct.
So he owned that. And he pulled that and put together a little company. And I think they had 5 or 6 titles. I don't remember how many.
Yeah.
But I never saw them when they were published. I only saw them afterwards. I think they came out when I was in college. And where I bought my comics when I was in college it was off a spinner rack in the college art college store, and it didn't have a whole lot. It didn't have Atlas at all, so I missed that. But interesting stuff though, beautiful stuff. Some of it.
Yeah. So that was a interesting thought. So
they're coming back. That's interesting.
But
if it's the same characters that they had.
I think they're bringing some of their old characters back.
We shall have to do a little digging and come back with some of that details next week.
Yeah, and then we discuss why Silverline's going to trump them.
That's right.
See, Trumps. We got the Trump card. Not Donald Trump. Trumps. This is a card game, folks. No, this is not political.
It's in trumping a hand.
Well, okay. Well, yes. There is politics in the book. There is, but it's King's Court.
There's four kingdoms.
Yes. But it's nothing to do with U.S. politics. So. Anyways, thank you so much for joining me tonight there, Rob and Barb. Thank you, everyone else who has joined us in Internet Land. We had a great time. I had a great time. I don't know if you had a great time. It was interesting.
It's your own fault.
It was interesting exploring how one thinks and tries to get something on a page. We could probably still delve into that further, but
tonight that thought about it a completely different way than we do. So
that's right. Yeah, I'm wondering if there's somebody who just like splats stuff on the page and says, "Oh, I can see stuff," and then
go Rorschach it.
Yeah. Who knows?
So, but yeah. All right. Well, so now it's time to figure out how to put our brains together and come up with other ideas, especially on how to go and buy Silverline books. And this is where we say, in our wonderful evening ending, make mine Silverline.
Hey, I'm G-Rod. Make mine Silverline. You heard me.